All right, what's going on, everybody? Broken Games HDR back at it again with another video. So we are reviewing episode 6 of season 2 of The Last of Us called The Price. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm kind of just gonna skim through this review. I'm gonna kind of phone this one in because I just don't feel like there's that much to really analyze here. And I'm kind of over this season. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of over it. Started off really well, but then towards the end, towards the middle and towards the end, yeah, it's like, all right, whatever. So this whole episode is pretty much a flashback. And in the game, I wasn't a fan of I'm not a fan of flashbacks in most games. They actually kind of annoy me. And I didn't like I understand why the flashbacks were there for storytelling purposes in the game, and I understand why sometimes flashbacks are needed. But I just kind of don't enjoy them a lot of the time, especially when you have to play through them. Watching them in shows and stuff like that actually doesn't bother me. In games, I just don't like them. So the whole episode is pretty much a flashback, and the whole point of this episode is kind of like establishing a foundation of two things. One, that Joel has been lying to protect the people he cares about, and he justifies it with his own reasoning and rationale. He's been, lying to protect the people he cares about since he was young, and that Ellie is still obsessed with the truth of what happened in the hospital in Seattle and why she finally like kind of broke, right? What like initiated her kind of snapping and her relationship with Joel becoming like kind of tumultuous and like problematic because she eventually learns the truth. So we start off with something that we never saw in the game, which was Joel's upbringing, a flashback to Joel as a teenager in 1983, and his father is a cop. It's him and Tommy, and Tommy goes to buy some weed. The dealer tries to rip him off. Joel intervenes, beats the shit out of the kid. Um, Joel's father, who's a cop, gets the information of what happened, um, and yeah, then we get him and his father at a scene at the kitchen table, and he pretty much lies to protect Tommy because Tommy was the one involved, trying to buy some weed or whatever. And he lies to protect Tommy because his father is a bit abusive when it comes to the discipline. And Joel's father, I felt like this was pretty real. Joel's father talks about the abuse he got from his father and how his father broke his jaw when he was younger for stealing. And then Joel asks him, why does he do it then? Why does he, hit them? And his answer was pretty real, is that he's doing better than his father. He didn't do exactly what his father did. He didn't break none of their jaws, but he does discipline them. And I found that pretty real because that's what a lot of adults say now, that they may discipline their kids, physically, but a lot of them feel and say, I've heard this, that I don't do any of the stuff that my parents did to me to you. So they still feel like it's progression. You as the child don't really feel like that and don't care about that, but they feel like they're doing better than their parents. And I felt like that's pretty real to the world. Um so we go to more present day, not exactly present day, but in Jackson. Joel is trading some Legos he found to Seth so Seth can make Ellie a birthday cake. Joel was a carpenter by trade before, the outbreak. So we get to see some of his work. Same thing that we did in the game. When we go in Joel's house, you see a whole bunch of like woodwork and shit like that. And he's working on this guitar that he eventually is going to give Ellie. Um, and so this scene of Tommy bringing Ellie in and she's high on like painkillers and shit because she burned her arm intentionally pretty much to hide the burn marks. I mean, not the burn marks, to hide the bite marks. That's she tried to burn it. That's why she got the tattoo over it. She's done a whole lot of things just to hide it so she can wear short sleeves again. Um Joel shows Ellie the birthday cake and Seth spells it wrong. Um and then Joel plays something for I don't need to break down a lot of this scene. Some of this is like kind of straight out of the game, and there's really no breakdown for it. Joel is playing some music for Ellie on the guitar. That's the same song that Ellie be playing. Joel takes Ellie to the museum. This is straight out of the game. Really not much to say here. They execute it kind of one to one. And I was talking to Jack. I was like, Jack, I bet you they completely remove the part where it where's there's the bloater, because in the flashback you fight the bloater, and the part where Ellie stumbles upon the runaway. They both stumble upon like the kids who ran away from Jackson, I think. And then that triggers a conversation with Joel and Ellie about the truth. So that whole thing is eliminated because they went about the truth coming out differently. And on their way back from the museum, Ellie sees some fireflies, which, it's always in the back of her mind what the truth is about what happened with the fireflies. So then we skip to another birthday. I think this was her 17th birthday. Ellie is messing with some girls, smoking weed, getting tattoos, and, all the shit that a parent doesn't want to see their teenager doing. And what was the most what was different, or I guess we didn't expect from this scene, is that like Joel is kind of like pushing back on Ellie being gay and messing with girls, because as far as we understand from the game, we never saw the exact point where Joel knew that Ellie was gay, but we always kind of assumed that Joel was just always accepting of Ellie being gay whenever he exactly found out, whenever he knew, because um we know, like, he obviously knew before the situation with Dina that Ellie was gay, but we don't know exactly when from the game. So as far as we know, he was always accepting. So it's like this this scene where he's like, "Oh, you're experimenting," and things like that, and we thought like, "Oh, he was always cool with it." Not that he was like not that he seems to be completely against it right now, but he just looked at it as her rebelling, I guess. Um and, they're just having this little back and forth, that happens when teenagers get a little bit older. They, start to push back on their parents. Obviously that's they're not real father and daughter as we know, but that's kind of their relationship. And Ellie needs more. She's getting older, so she needs more space. And that's why she eventually moves to the garage. And that's where we know Ellie is at in the game. She lives in the garage. Um, and because she's getting older. So fast forward a little bit, Joel is teaching Ellie how to go on patrol. Joel gets a call on the radio that Eugene and his partner needs help. So we finally gonna get to the resolution of what happened with Joel and Eugene and why Joel killed Eugene. I mean, I think most of us predicted. I always thought and figured that, oh, Joel killed Eugene because Eugene got bit. I think that made the most sense, right? It's just not like Joel just randomly killed Eugene for no reason. It had to be a justified reason. And I'm like, that made the most sense. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. But how it was done and the circumstances is kind of why Gail is kind of bitter about it, and why Ellie feels a way about Joel. Was how he did it. He did it with another lie. So they're on the trail. They get the radio call about Eugene needing help. They find Eugene. Well, this horse passes by with a dead guy attached to it, looking like a scene out of a horror movie. Then they find Eugene, and he's bit on the side. And Eugene is pushing back because Joel is going to follow protocol here, and he's very protective, especially of Ellie and Jackson. And of course, Eugene has some time before he goes full infected and full cordyceps and runner style. And he probably has like an hour, and Ellie's advocating for him as well. That he just wants to go see Gail. That's all he wants. He's like, listen, I know I'm gonna die. Y'all gonna have to kill me. I'm gonna turn and all that, but I just want to see my wife. And Joel is like, "Yeah, nah, dog," and Ellie advocates for him, so Joel yields a little bit, and Eugene, his gun is empty, so he tried that, and like, yeah, that wasn't gonna work. Even if you your gun had some ammo in it, bro, you weren't gonna kill both of them. Um, so Ellie gives him, I guess, a cordyceps sobriety test. I guess that's what you could just call it. Just to hold out his hand and see if he's shaking, see if he can focus enough to count, and he's fine. Of course, it takes a little while for the infection to take over. So he does have time. So J- Ellie and Eugene are not wrong. He does have time to get back and say goodbye to Gale. They're right. But Joel's not taking that chance. He So Ellie goes to get the horses because Joel promises, "Oh no, I got it. I'm not gonna kill him. Okay, we're gonna bring him back." We all know Joel lying. He about to execute this man. Um, so Joel takes him down a path with a nice view. So this will be his last view. And he's like, "Oh, I don't, and Eugene is kind of pleading, like, it's not, you know, I don't need to hear from, he's saying, I don't need to hear from Gail for Gail. He's like, I need to hear from Gail for myself, pretty much. And Joel is like, "Oh, nah, if you love him, it's all in your head. You imagine her, just visualize her. You could see it." And then a silent shot to the back of the head. You know it because you see the birds, fly away from the trees and everything like that. So, he kills Eugene. He's not wrong for killing Eugene, but he could have, they could have made it back. Is what I'm saying. Um, and that's another promise that Joel has made and lied about to protect someone he cares about at a place he cares about, and he thinks you can just justify it. He think as long as if you're doing the right thing, that you can lie if it's to protect somebody. And I agree with that in some circumstances. Some circumstances, I personally believe it's okay to tell certain lies to protect some people, but not in most of the ways that Joel be doing it. Joel be like lying all willy nilly, like, "Oh no, I'm gonna let him live. We gonna bring him back, bro." You can't lie about that. Like that's not, you can't lie about that, bro. You just letting lies fly off at this point. Like you just be letting all the lies out. So Ellie comes back. Of course, she's tilted. You could see she's like in disbelief, like, bro, you promised. And your promises essentially mean nothing because you promise something 1 minute and then Joel breaks it in the next 5 minutes. So it doesn't really mean anything to him. His word doesn't really mean anything. So they bring Eugene's body back to Jackson, and Joel tells Gail this lie that Eugene, killed himself because he knew he was bit, and he was like, "Oh, he was brave," and he was like, "I want just tell." He said to tell that Gail that I love her and all that shit and all that. That obviously wasn't true. And then Ellie snitches. Ellie's fed up with Joel's lies and be like, "Nah, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. He was bit. He had time, and Joel shot him in the back of the head." And Gail slaps him. "You bitch ass hoe. Why didn't you let me see him?" Um, and because Ellie's fed up, and she says, "You swore," and she's not even talking about um the promise about bringing Eugene back. It's obviously stemming from um the whole situation in Seattle, with Joel lying about there being more immune people and what happened, and raiders taking over the Seattle hospital and all that stuff, and the Fireflies, all being killed by them and they escaped and all that shit. All a lie. So we jump to the New Year celebration and then the Seth scene and then the scene on Joel's porch, where Joel tells her the full truth, and Ellie says, "I don't know if I can forgive you, but I want to." So that leaves an opening for the mending of their relationship. And then we uh essentially go to Seattle day 3, where Ellie is back at the theater. And that's what this episode was. There's really not that much to deep dive. The first half of the episode, I was like, all right, I'm kind of like disinterested and tuned out. The second half, because we finally get to wrap up what happened with Eugene, and just that we got to see Eugene, because we didn't get to see him in the game at all. I like that part. And yeah, the second half of the episode was pretty decent, but I guess my issue is, like, I feel like a lot of things are going to be excluded from what we got in the game, I guess, because there's one episode left and I'm like, how much can you do in one episode? There a lot of things are being fast tracked and kind of just expedited and very much streamlined. And I understand some things are going to be cut, but it feels like a lot of shit is being cut. But That was that was the episode. I f I feel like season 3, Abby's, and Abby's perspective is gonna be better than Ellie's perspective. I mean, Abby's gameplay was better than Ellie's. Like, Abby's part in the game was better than Ellie's, honestly, so it'll probably end up being that way for the show. Not that Ellie's, uh, Seattle day 1 through 3 was bad, but Abby's was just better. So, yeah, let me know what y'all think. Hit the like button. I'll catch y'all on the next video. I'm outta here. Peace.